Welcome, everyone, to the DeVory Darkin Show. It is November 20th, Thursday, and more corruption. I think we went into depth about that yesterday. It just seems like Congress is addicted to the corruption, and a couple of stories we're going to get into today is exactly going to make our point here, and that is a Democrat out of Florida who is, when I hear stories like this, it continues to frustrate me. I probably say this is one of two issues that I get a little emotional about. But at any rate, this is a woman in Florida who's a Democrat stealing $5 million in FEMA funds. So we'll talk about that. Jasmine Crockett humiliated last night. We talked about it briefly, but there was another clip I wanted to show you where Caitlin Collins, if Caitlin Collins is embarrassing you, I think you have problems, right? And also the economy. New jobs report came out for the month of September. 115,000 jobs added. A couple of things you need to know about that, and we'll get into it, of course, and give you the full picture of the economy as usual. And the vice president did speak on the economy, so we're going to show you that as well. If you guys are new here, this is all about common sense commentary for these uncommon times. We take pride in, trying to show you what both sides are saying of the conversation, get you to think for yourself. And why do we do that exactly? I had some people in the comments yesterday complaining about, they want me to be an echo chamber, right? They want me to cater to their feelings, okay? I thought in America we had a high standard when it came to thinking for ourselves. Isn't that what this country was built on to begin with, right? Independent freedom. And if we can't call out members of Congress, if we can't call out the president and his administration, if we can't call out Democrats, then we're no better than any of them. And it's not really about being better than other people. It's just about doing the right thing. And that is catering to the U.S. Constitution overall. That's where our allegiance should be. Now, I want the president to be successful. I voted for him. I believe in his agenda. I'm just very disappointed at Congress. They seem inept when it comes to executing his agenda. So as we navigate all these stories, remember, President Trump is going to leave the White House one day, okay? We don't know what's going to happen to the MAGA movement 3 years from now, because according to him, he is the MAGA movement. And if MAGA voters don't vote in MAGA representatives, we're pretty much not going to have a voice in Congress, right? So that's why it's very important to continue to educate ourselves about exactly what's happening and to continue to call out members of Congress. And when midterms comes around next year, I encourage you, matter of fact, I demand of you to still show up and vote. But hopefully somebody in your district gets the message of what we've been communicating on the show every day, which is, number one, is the economy. It's the most important thing overall, okay? Wages, as much as the administration wants to say, has been increasing. Nobody feels like their wages have increased. Let's just be honest about it, all right? The only people where their income has been going up is because either they, like we talked about yesterday, they're solving a big problem, they're really good at it, and that's whether they own a business or they're in a career, right? We went over those steps. If you guys missed out on that, by the way, as far as people out there that you might be struggling financially and you're trying to find more creative ways, I'd go back and watch that. It's the last 20 minutes of yesterday's live show. Very good stuff. Anyways, it's the economy. That's the number one issue. Then immigration, which the president has knocked that out the park, by the way. I think he set a certain example that I'm not too sure anybody's going to be able to duplicate from here on in. And then three, you can get into foreign policy and crime and other issues. But the economy and immigration are two of the biggest issues. I would say two of the issues that are the root cause of the problems we continue to complain about in this country as far as domestic issues are concerned. So as I say all this, we'll get to this in this video, of course, but that's what we got to focus on. That's what we got to push back against our representatives. That's what we should be screaming about, not all this other nonsense and drama about Epstein and, this conservative said this about this conservative and this person's platform and this person over here. That's all a distraction, ladies and gentlemen. It's the issues that impact your family at the dinner table that should be what we talk about the most. And I try to, obviously, but listen, the news is going to talk about what they are going to talk about. Now, I told you guys there was a lot of corruption, right? A lot of corruption going on. And before we get to that, I just want to go over what happened last night with Jasmine Crockett, because I think this is too good to skip past. All right. And I think you'll enjoy this. Let's go ahead and start this now.
Democrat who's been on defense over Jeffrey Epstein is Stacey Plaskett. She represents the Virgin Islands. She was texting with Jeffrey Epstein the day of Michael Cohen's hearing. Her questions pretty closely followed the text messages between the two of them to ask about Rona Graff, Trump's longtime assistant. You were defending her today, or in recent days, yesterday, and you talked about Republicans taking money from a Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what you said.
Who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio.
You mentioned Lee Zeldin there. He's now a cabinet secretary. He responded and said it was actually Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a doctor that doesn't have any relation to the convicted sex trafficker. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that is who donated to a prior campaign of his. Do you want to correct the record on the people that
Listen, I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein. Just so that people understand, when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen, because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team, what they did is they Googled. And that is specifically why I said a Jeffrey Epstein. Unlike Republicans, I at least don't go out and just tell lies. Because it was not the same one, that's fine. But when Lee Zeldin had something to say, all he had to say was it was a different Jeffrey Epstein. He admitted that he did receive donations from a Jeffrey Epstein, so at least I wasn't trying to mislead people. Now, have I dug in to find out?
All right, let's pause that. She's an idiot, okay? Absolute idiot. And she thinks you and me are idiots too, because who's going to believe that excuse? You knew exactly what you were doing in the moment. The name that has been used, weaponized, talked about, reacted to the most, especially over the past, 2 weeks, is Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, well, I was talking about any Jeffrey Epstein. Right. Any Jeffrey Epstein? Okay, sure. Again, listen, I'm not a supporter of Caitlin Collins or CNN, but she's getting embarrassed, in my opinion. Let's continue to hear her excuses.
Who this doctor is, I have not. So I will trust and take what he says, is that it wasn't that Jeffrey Epstein, but I was not attempting to mislead anybody. I literally had maybe 20 minutes before I had to do that debate.
Yeah, but people might.
Oh, she only had 20 minutes to do some research. So obviously she has a team who are incompetent, right? Because, if they can't even verify that the Jeffrey Epstein that they were really looking for obviously disappeared in 2019. And then you're drawing from campaign donations after 2019 for Lee Zeldin. I mean, anybody with a brain knows that doesn't add up, okay? If you go to the website, it's very clear, fec.gov. You type in Jeffrey Epstein, there's a multitude of Jeffrey Epsteins. I mean, do they not even know his middle name, Edward? It's pretty simple to look up. I mean, it's not difficult. They could have gone to opensecrets.org if they really wanted to see his donation record. But again, they're not interested in actually doing thorough research. This is the problem with our society overall. It's easier to just go on social media, see a clip that's only 15 seconds, believe that is fact, and call it a day. That's the easiest thing to do. But you know what? The easiest thing to do is usually the lazy thing to do. They don't want to do the hard right? They don't want to do the work that is required to not only be accurate, but to be fair and to be credible. And this is just another prime example. Now, if she's doing this, imagine what else she's been doing, right? Imagine what her team has been doing. If they're that lazy, they don't even want to correct the record. They didn't even issue a statement. Hey, Lee Zeldin, our bad. We didn't mean this Jeffrey Epstein, or, the Congresswoman misspoke. No, that is all out the window. They don't even do that these days. They'd rather just keep it pushing. Hey, I lied about it. So what? And that's why alternative media is so important, because it shows you the other side of these lies, and that you guys could see, okay, I see what's happening here. All right, let's continue.
Then say, well, you're trying to make it sound like he took money from
I did not know.
A registered sex offender.
No, but I literally did not know. When you search FEC files, and that's what I had my team to do, I texted them and I said, listen, We're going up. They are saying that she took donations.
Right, but someone might say, well, your team should have done the homework to make sure it wasn't the convicted.
Not
Exactly.
within 20 minutes, you could not find that out, not from just doing a quick search on FEC.
Yeah,
so,
you can.
number one, I made sure that I was clear that it was a Jeffrey Epstein, but I never said that it was specifically that Jeffrey Epstein, because I knew that we would need more time to really dig in.
Well, Stacey.
Even Caitlin Collins cannot believe that. Okay, she can't even believe that excuse. So she just moves on. Why don't we do it, right? Let's do what she says that they failed to do, right? All you have to do is go over to google.com, right? Very simple. I'll do it right here in front of you. Type in FEC contributions. All right, there it is, contributions. Okay, first link at the top. Click that. All right, now what you want to do is obviously fix the dates and the filters. So where I start first is right here under contributor details, where it says the name, just put Jeffrey Epstein here. Scroll down, and then we got to change the actual date because we know he disappeared under unusual circumstances. Let's see here, 2019. Let's go 2001. Okay. And let's see what it gives us. I got to take that off. There we go. All right, let's see what it gives us. And you could go to Open Secrets as well and do this whole exercise. I mean, again, she says they only had 20 minutes. So I just want to see how long this is going to take for us to look at. All right, so it only took, maybe 15 seconds to look this up. Now, how do you know you're looking at the correct Jeffrey Epstein? You got to look under employer, okay? That's what cancels it out, okay? That's the easiest way, especially if they're not providing a middle initial when it comes to the actual person who donated funds. You want to look under the employer and the state, okay? So let's go older, because I don't even think he donated even in 2019. I think that's not possible either, but we'll see. Let's see how far back this goes. This is supposed to go all the way back even before 2000, by the way. Let's see here. All right, there we go. Okay. So you've got self-employed. You could change how many results are on the page. So listen, this is not difficult. You got middle initials right here. I think this is him right here, financier. Arkansas Senate 2002, because his middle name is Edward. Even I know that, and I don't even work for Congress, right? I'm not even on their staff, okay? I'm not an aide. My job every day is not to wake up and research things like this, okay? So it's just fascinating that we are able to do this in real time right now. So here's one of them, like I stated right here. This looks like it right here, because his middle initial is E. And when you click on that, I think it'll pull it up in real time and show you other donations. Kerry Committee, which is John Kerry. We already know he did donate to him. He donated to Hillary Clinton. All right, so I'm off this. At any rate, I think you guys get the point here. She's pathetic. Her team is pathetic. They're lazy. They don't care about the truth whatsoever. And it's just a shame that it's come to this. It really is. Now, let's go to this corruption situation with McCormick out of Florida. Listen to this.
Tonight, federal prosecutors say South Florida Congresswoman Sheila Sherfilis McCormick stole millions in FEMA disaster funds and then funneled that money into her own 2021 campaign. A new indictment alleges she, her brother, and several associates routed a $5 million overpayment through multiple accounts using straw donors, personal spending, and even filing a false tax return to hide it. If convicted, Sherfilis McCormick faces up to 53 years in prison.
So the question when we get into this story, okay, because I want to get your guys' feedback. Do you believe, number one, she will be expelled from Congress? We know George Santos was. He was expelled from Congress even before he was convicted. Let me say that again. George Santos was expelled from Congress before he was convicted. So the question here is, will she be expelled? Now, I would argue that George Santos' crimes are also pathetic, but nowhere near $5 million of FEMA funds used for her own personal benefit, including her family members. That is off the charts. This guy's just addicted to spending stuff on luxury items, clothes, bags, crap like that, okay? Nothing near what she's done. Both of them obviously should be removed from Congress. He was. Let's see if she will. Answer that in the comments section below. First, what we got to do is go to our first message today from our sponsor, which is crypto.com. Take a listen. All right, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but this is a huge announcement. So Trump Media Group partnered with crypto.com in a All right, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but this is a huge announcement. So Trump Media Group partnered with crypto.com in a $6.4 billion deal. Why is this so important? Well, in case you didn't know, I have a crypto.com account and I invested in the Trump meme coin earlier this year and I was successful. Okay. And so when I heard about this news of Trump Media Group partnering with crypto.com to establish the first American crypto treasury, I knew I had to be somewhat involved and figure out more information and then share it with you guys. See, you don't have to technically be an expert when it comes to crypto to participate in things like this. You just have to be aware, and you should probably have an account with crypto.com, because understand something. What continues to happen to the American dollar, you know, and I know it. And I truly believe that Bitcoin is the future in some way, shape, or form, including crypto in general. So head over to crypto.com, be a part of this movement, this historic change, and how this administration is backing the power of crypto. Again, head over to crypto.com today. All right. Okay. So can I add on to something really quickly here? I truly believe crypto is the future. I just want to make sure you guys understand. Because sooner or later, this dollar is going to continue to obviously decline. Okay. All you have to do is go to something called the inflation CPI calculator. Type in what your money was worth 10 years ago compared to today, and you could just see the drastic difference. You don't think that's going to continue to increase? Of course it is. Of course it is. So you got to think bigger. Remember when people started calling Bitcoin a scam? Remember JP Morgan said, hey, we don't believe in that stuff. Why do they hold billions in crypto now? Why do all of the institutions are holding a position in crypto, particularly Bitcoin? I think that's the writing on the wall. I get questions about this stuff all the time. Hey, do you think I should invest in crypto? What are the billionaires doing? What are the corporations doing? They hold large positions in Bitcoin. I think that tells the story. Okay. Listen, unless they want the world to just, crumble overnight, I don't think they would be holding those positions, if you guys catch my drift. But at any rate, I just wanted to add on to that. All right. So let's get back to this Congresswoman McCormick, Sheila. Black people, can we just do better? I have to go there. I have to go there because it's just fascinating to me that I continue to see black women in positions of power commit fraud. Who am I talking about? Letitia James. We're talking about this woman here. We're talking about the mayor of New Orleans sitting on 13 indictments for what? Taking her boyfriend, who's supposed to be the security guard, working for the city, paying him privately with city funds, even when he wasn't working, taking lavish trips. Let's go to Fonnie Willis. But black people don't have any representation. We don't have any opportunities. We need DEI. Yeah, when you get DEI, you jack it up. It's ridiculous. We got to set a high standard. She should be expelled on sight. There should be no hesitation. Well, what they make all these excuses. You say you want opportunities, black people. You say we should be in positions of power. When we get into positions of power, what happens? Let's not even get into Black Lives Matter, by the way. That was a complete scam. It's like they can't do right. Okay. I'm going to stop because I'm going to keep going. All right. Let's read this. All right. So it says that this indictment followed years of House ethics scrutiny over alleged campaign finance violations, accusations that have plagued most of her time in office. Listen, this is not the only crime she committed. When she first came onto the scene, within 1 year, she was being investigated for improperly using campaign funds. Okay. The big picture is this. The South Florida Democrat had already faced a primary challenger who has attacked her over ethics concerns, criticism amplified by the federal indictment here. A House Republican has already pledged to file a motion to censure her amid a week of drama of Capitol Hill. And that is Greg Steube from Florida, I believe. I don't know if I got his last name correctly. But at any rate, said that once the Ethics Committee concludes their investigation, or if she is convicted, he would then move to expel her from Congress. We don't need an investigation. The fact that we know she is already being indicted over stealing $5 million in FEMA funds is more than enough. Let's get her out of there. See, this is my problem with Congress. What are you guys waiting on? You guys move too slow. Well, that's the way the founding fathers designed it. Well, I think maybe we need to adapt with the times. The biggest killer when it comes to success is moving too slow. When we served in the military, you know what? One of the biggest lessons that they gave us? Move with a sense of urgency. This is urgent. This is corruption. She needs to go, like yesterday. Let's continue to read. Quote, she says, this is an unjust, baseless, sham indictment. Doesn't that sound familiar? Big Tish, these are baseless claims. Okay, sure. And I am innocent. The timing alone is curious and clearly meant to distract from far more pressing national issues. Really? Okay, well, let's keep reading here. Prosecutors allege that McCormick conspired with her brother to steal $5 million in FEMA funds, quote, using disaster relief funds for self-enrichment is particularly selfish, cynical crime. This is what Pam Bondi said in a statement. Quote, no one is above the law, least of all the powerful people who rob taxpayers for personal gain. We will follow the facts in the case and deliver justice. Kash Patel also spoke out about this. Let's see if we can show you that now. I read it briefly yesterday. Again, I just, there should be no delay. This should not take a year. It shouldn't take 6 months. She needs to go. This individual and her family allegedly stole money from FEMA and then laundered it. Let me zoom in so you guys can see it just like I do. There you go. Laundered it through friends toward her own personal benefits, including her campaign accounts. Today, the FBI and partners at the Justice Department took action. No one is above the law. Now, what's interesting is she has all these other posts talking about President Trump isn't above the law and all this other stuff. Here it is right here. Here we go. Here's her history. What is this? June 9th, 2023. This serves as another reminder that no American is above the law. Here she is. SCOTUS decision this week sets a dangerous precedent that erodes the very freedoms and protections that define our democracy. This, again, is just a complete joke. Here we go. Quote, with former President Trump having been indicted, we are reminded that no American, not even the president, is above the law. I can keep going. I think you guys are getting the point. So what's the next steps? Well, as you guys know, we just told you that Republicans are seeking to expel her. And the problem is they want to do these investigations, which I think is a complete joke. It's the same thing with, what's the dude's name? It's the same thing with Corey Mills. So Nancy Mace introduces this resolution to have him censured. Then the House Ethics Committee comes back and say, oh, well, wait a minute. We want to do an investigation first. I mean, you guys want to do investigation after investigation that never leads to anything. What are you talking about? Let's get results. Let's get outcomes. Let's get the job done, right? Hold people accountable. That's why people don't trust Congress at all. I was talking to my wife about this. I think there are only two people. Listen, I think we should remove everybody from Congress and start fresh except two people, Tim Burchard and Senator John Kennedy. You guys follow what I'm saying? Representative Tim Burchard, Senator John Kennedy. Everybody else can go. Everybody. Republican, independent, Democrat, wipe them all off the map and start fresh. Start a new election. Now, obviously, that would be a perfect world. Okay, let's keep going. Here is a local affiliate catching her. I believe this is at an event seeking to ask her questions about this indictment.
She was back in the district at this event. We tried again.
I also wanted to ask you about the investigation into your families. But this is also part of her congressional duties. Congresswoman, you know, you're under investigation for the congressional ethics for violation of campaign finances. Congresswoman, this is your district. You have to answer to these people.
No, they don't believe they have to.
Congresswoman.
Attorneys for her family's healthcare company aren't answering the I-Team's questions either. And the Department of Emergency Management says they won't comment on ongoing litigation, leaving taxpayers and her constituents wondering What happened to those millions?
It's the same thing that what happened to the millions regarding homelessness in California. It went into people's pockets. That's what happened to it. I mean, it's so fascinating. Like, people think, a human being is not flawed. We're the most flawed thing on this planet. You see, if you go out into the wilderness, all right, into the animal kingdom, you're looking at animals that are not flawed. They operate exactly the way that they are designed. They are 100% instinct. Humans, on the other hand, we have what? Free will, okay? And we are flawed. And as a result, we sin. And because we sin, and people like her get elected to Congress, that doesn't mean they're going to do the right thing. These people lack integrity at the highest level. That's one of the values of the military. Integrity is doing something when nobody's looking, doing the right thing. These people can't do the right thing. They can't. And again, it's just another example of people in positions of power, particularly, and I'm going to use their language, people of color, continuing to do the wrong thing. Now, in case you guys don't like my rhetoric, let me just show you the receipts of what I'm saying here. Look at this. I have the list for you. Shing Tai, who was in Oakland, former Oakland mayor. Hold on, guys. Okay. Sorry, people are sending me messages about my microphone. Maybe it's too loud for you guys. Anyways, so the Shing Tao, who was the former Oakland mayor, this lady was taking funds from the city, laundering them through a waste management company that was tied to criminal organizations so they could profit extra money and get particular contracts. Okay, you guys following what I'm saying? Sam Page, St. Louis County mayor, we did not look into him, but he's also been accused of using city funds. Latoya Centrell, I think that's how you pronounce it. That's the New Orleans mayor. She's got 13 indictments. That happened in February of this year. LaMonica McIver, you guys already know her. She's the person that put her hands on the ICE officer in New Jersey at the detention facility when the riots broke out. Sheila McCormick, we just went through that. And Kat, I don't even know how to pronounce her name, but this is the Gen Z woman who is in Illinois. She's a congressional candidate. She also blocked the ICE vehicle from leaving. She's been indicted herself as well. So I think Democrats need to focus on their own party and clean it up, because they're so obsessed with President Trump that they think they can commit crimes to fight against them. And some of these people, instead of fighting against the president, they're over here trying to pocket more money for themselves. I think that tells you the problem with Congress, okay? All right, let's go to the chat and check in with you guys today. Let's see what's going on. Shout out to Rumble. How are you guys doing? How are you guys doing? Politicians are either sociopaths or psychopaths. Yeah, they don't even do the right thing when people are looking. They just BS people and say it's the right thing, knowing they'll never pay attention. Yeah, I totally agree. Almost every black Democrat is a criminal. A good portion. And that's not me, raging against black people. It's just, I mean, you can't have it both ways, man. You can't complain about racism, and you can't complain that the system is against you. And you can't say that black people are oppressed, and then when you rise to high levels of power, you commit fraud yourself. How does that work exactly? It's just fascinating. And not all black people who rise to power do stuff like this, by the way. But it seems to me on the left, they seem to be caught up in things like this. I mean, Black Lives Matter. I mean, that's just, there's no way to argue against that. That is just craziness. Oh, someone said, and Senator Ron Johnson, he's a hero too. Okay, put him on the list. I mean, there's not many people that should stay, okay? Not many people that should stay in Congress. Here's a good question. If you think all black people are criminals, what do you think about Clarence Thomas? Well, what I think about Clarence Thomas, and you guys are going to probably laugh at me, this might be a hot take. According to what's on paper, he's the most accomplished justice who's ever served in that Supreme Court. No question. He's delivered more opinions than any of them sitting on that bench right now. Very thoughtful opinions as well, too. So as far as what's on paper, I wouldn't call him a criminal. Now, let's not be naive. I know he's been on certain jets and his wife has taken certain gifts. Okay. This is what I'm saying. At the end of the day, all money needs to be removed from politics, from three branches of government, every single one of them. And it's not just a person. Your spouse and your immediate family members better not receive any gift, any donation from anybody. They should be all tracked. I think it should be that extreme. I really do. Because what's going to happen is you're going to filter out the people who are trying to do this for money. Republicans are just better at not getting caught. I could agree with that. I can agree with that. That reminds me of Tiger Woods when he got caught up in his personal affairs. You know, a lot of those golfers are cheating on their wives. Let's be honest. He's just the only one that got caught in a brutal way. Okay. And it was pretty much downhill from there. Let's see here. Yep, nothing ever happens. See, this is what I'm saying. We're still in the first year of this administration. And the bottom line is this. We're not going to get these convictions right now in this moment, okay? Even the indictments and the conviction when it came to President Trump didn't happen overnight. It happened literally over the course of 3 years, okay? So, I would probably say next year, let's see where we're really at with a lot of this. If we're not seeing convictions roll in at a minimum, if we're not even seeing the case move forward, I think we should definitely start complaining. It was great meeting you Monday night between shows. Brother, my dad is thoroughly loving the show since I put him on. Thanks for your service. We are brothers in arms. Hey, thank you so much, man. It was great meeting you. It was really nice. We have to go back. And my wife's going to come with me because she wants to. I think she has I think she has a lot to say, too. I think it's going to be great. Byron Donalds is amazing. Okay. Yeah, Byron Donalds. So Byron Donalds has some problems. Byron Donalds has problems because part of people on the right, particularly Republican voters who are against Israel, does not like he's taking money from AIPAC. Also, people who live in Florida, which I'm not one of them, but I do pay attention to what people are saying. They don't like his talking point that they need to build more homes. In fact, a lot of Floridians are arguing against that. Stop building all these homes, okay? I think the number one priority for Floridians right now, and if you guys live in Florida, confirm this, but it seems to me that the biggest issue right now is to get rid of property taxes. I think Florida should absolutely do that. I think every state should do that. I don't understand why we have property taxes to begin with. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Okay. Some people say Josh Hawley. Yeah, my problem with Josh Hawley is he doesn't support anything regarding electric vehicles, autonomous driving, and he complains about billionaires receiving millions of dollars of their salaries. He sounds like a liberal at times, okay? I think sometimes he's complaining about the wrong thing in the wrong way, okay? Elon Musk, any of these CEOs making $50 million a year, that's not the problem, okay? The problem is Congress has failed to find creative ways to increase wages, okay? It's not just the president. I don't understand why people just think it's the president that needs to do everything. It's three branches of government, okay? I don't think all black people are criminals. I'm beginning to think that most politicians are criminals. Yeah, I don't think that either. There's obviously this whole viral talking point that, depending on, how far right you like to listen to stuff, if I had a choice, I wouldn't hang out with black people, or I wouldn't live next to them, or I wouldn't marry them, or what, you hear some of these interesting talking points because they're looking at the numbers, right? 13% of the population, technically 6% of the population is committing a good portion of homicides, okay? And usually a good portion of those homicides are against each other, black people against black people. And that's all true. But I've always been of the mindset that I don't look at someone's skin color because that was the way that I was raised. I just look at their character and the results, if that makes any sense. You know, when I was younger, okay, when I was growing up in California, I went to an all-white school. I mean, literally, it was one of two black kids in that school, okay? When I was in elementary school, I was the only black kid in class. Now, when my mother got breast cancer, I had to go live in Houston, Texas, particularly Missouri City. 99.9% black, okay? And you know what's interesting? The black kids treated me worse than the white kids. It's just fascinating. You know, so I have a different perspective as it pertains to black culture. I think we are our own worst enemy. I think our problem is we haven't gotten the message that other cultures have gotten. Jews have moved on. Indians have moved on. Asians have moved on. But for some reason, the black community still continues to be stuck in the past. And I would argue that black people in general are much more creative and intelligent in so many different ways. We could truly build wealth in this country that we've never seen before, but it's not going to happen. It's just not part of the culture. It just isn't going to happen. All right, let's keep going. Yep. Let's go to YouTube, and then we got to get to this economy stuff. Jobs report. Okay, here we go. MAGA was supposed to be the change a decade ago. Instead, they proved themselves to be the last of the gullible uniparty loyalists. Yeah, you know what's fascinating? If that was true, you wouldn't have so many people criticizing the president who considers them MAGA. Here's a great thought exercise. Which president received more criticism from his own base, Joe Biden or President Trump? Think about that. How many people who voted for Joe Biden legitimately criticized them in the same way that you've been seeing Trump supporters do to the president? Trump supporters are not budging on H-1B visas. Trump supporters are not budging on Epstein files. And Trump supporters are not liking the economy. And we're much more vocal about that than Democrats have ever been under Joe Biden. Most of them were silent. So I push back on that. Let's continue to read. What does this say here? This guy says, preach, I'm half Asian, half Hispanic. I tell you, I receive more love from Malaysians and Filipinos than Hispanics. Hell, they used to bully me until I was able to get my hands on them. Exactly. Listen, MAGA is so critical that we're fighting amongst each other. What are you talking about? Yeah, circling back here. So that's why the problem with America is we have too many labels, okay? It's so bad in the black community. They got your light skin, your red bone, your an FBA, a foundational black American, you're African American, you know, you're black. They got all these labels. Instead of the most important one, which in my opinion is that you're a child of God. So that's number one. And then number two, you're an American citizen. Okay. And then number three, you're a father, you're a husband, you're a wife, right? You're a mother. I think those labels are much more important than what your skin color is, in my opinion. Yeah. Someone said, I'm the exact opposite. The black community has always been more welcoming to me when starting new jobs or moving as children, and I was born in the 60s. Yeah. Someone says, I'm white, lived in an 85% black community for 22 years. Best community I ever lived in, 90% professional, nurses. Yeah, because you didn't live in the ghetto. So that's number one. Number two, you're white. So I'm telling you, amongst black people, it's a totally different thing. That's why you always hear, and this is the end of it right here. Here's the bottom line. There's a difference between the N-word and black people. You guys follow what I'm saying? Okay? I'm not going to say it because I don't say that word, just so you guys understand. I just believe it's ignorant at the end of the day. But there's a difference between black people who are living in ignorance, because that's what my mother taught me, what the N-word really means, and then just black people in general who are professionals. They're living their lives. They don't care about all that stuff. They want to provide for their families, be leaders of their communities. There's a huge difference. Huge difference. And black people know it. That's why black people don't even like to live around black people themselves. Okay? It's just something that that has happened, unfortunately. And the only people that can fix it is black people themselves. We got to stop worshiping Hollywood and hip hop and rap and sports. And we got to get to intellect, building wealth, financial literacy, building each other up, creating our own economy. You know, that's what the Jews have done. That's what people from India do. They come here as a family, they buy a couple of gas stations, they run it up. You know, so it's interesting. Like, two things are true at the same time. We're American citizens, but we're also subjected to our own cultures, okay? And, you're going in the right direction when your own culture is starting to call you out because you're trying to seek better, right? All right, let's move on. Let's move on to the economy. So as you guys know, new jobs report has come out. Like I stated, 115,000 jobs. Let's hear more of that now.
But we begin with breaking news. The long-awaited September jobs report is out after the shutdown delayed its release. The U.S. economy added 119,000 jobs, which is better than expected, but the unemployment rate is edging higher at 4.4%. This is a key indicator for the Federal Reserve ahead of their December meeting to vote on another potential rate cut. ABC News business reporter Alexis Christoforous is here to break it all down for us. So, Alexis, what does this mean for the economy right now?
It means, Diane, that heading into that historic government shutdown, the job market was healthier than we thought. The expectation was for 50,000 jobs to have been added in the month of September. We got more than double that, 119,000 jobs added. Once again, they were added in areas like healthcare, restaurants, so food service, beverages, social assistance. We lost jobs in transportation, manufacturing, which is actually very interesting given the fact that President Trump has been doing a lot to try to get manufacturing back into this country. And we also saw a drop in government jobs, down by about 97,000.
We are not getting a full October jobs report.
Right.
So how could that impact the Fed's decision?
This is a big move here because we're going to get a partial October report that will be part of the November report. That's going to come out late on December 16th. That's a lot to take in, but it's all because of the government shutdown. So we will find out how many jobs were added or subtracted in the month of October. We're never going to know the unemployment rate, and that's because that's a separate survey the government has to collect. During the government shutdown, they were unable to collect that data. A quick point on this 4.4% unemployment rate, now at its highest level in 4 years. You might say, well, if the economy added so many jobs, why did the unemployment rate go up? It's because more people came off the sidelines and were actively looking for work in the month of September. When you're looking for work, you're actually counted among the unemployed.
Okay. So I don't know if you want to put your business out there, but I'm just curious. How many of you guys are currently looking for a job? I want to do this exercise. How many of you guys are looking for a job? If you don't want to tell me, that's fine. Maybe the better question is, how many of you guys know someone who is looking for a job? How about that? Okay. How many of you guys know someone who is looking for a job? Why? Because I want to provide a particular solution here. Okay. So I've had to hire people when I had a roofing company. I've had to hire people when, hold on. I had to fix this mic situation. Okay. So I've had to hire people that were in my juice bar, okay, marketing. So I've hired a lot of people. Let's just say that. And whether you are looking for a job or you know someone who is, here's just 3 tips that you can follow that could definitely help you land it, okay? Number 1, do not write a resume that is filled with ChatGPT language, okay? It's one of the biggest pet peeves I have personally because I'm looking for authenticity. Authenticity will make you stand out more than any other candidate, regardless of whether you're qualified or not. You'll automatically stand out. And it starts with the resume itself. 1 page, keep it simple, bottom line information, stats, data, numbers. And then you can add in a sentence of like, here's why I believe I'm the right fit for this job. And you write it out, right? Using ChatGPT isn't going to work. Now, I know people land jobs because of that. I'm not dumb, but I'm giving you my 3 tips, okay? So we can do these complaints all day long, but I want to give you guys some solutions. So number 1, make sure your resume is authentic. And when you sit down for the interview, make sure you are authentic. You don't have to come up with special answers. Just be who you are. Okay? And, I can't control what these employers are going to ask you. But I think a very important question that employers love to hear from people they're interviewing is when the person will say, hey, what are you guys actually looking for? So I make sure that I am the right fit. Right? Because that tells me that you're a person who's thinking, okay? Because the ultimate thing when you're hiring someone, I don't even know if you're a great fit or not. Right? So I think it's very important for the person getting interviewed for them to say, hey, wait a minute, what are you guys really looking for? What is it that you want? Like, what is the successful hiring look like for you guys? What does that person look like? That's going to make the person be like, oh, damn. I mean, this person came ready to talk. Right? And obviously don't come off like you're entitled. Don't do the whole, let's rush through this. You're going to hire me right now type of thing. I don't think people like that either. Anyways, so step one is authenticity. Step two is persistence. Okay? Persistence. So I remember in my history when I hired people, the people I usually hired were the people who are persistent and following up. Okay? They wouldn't stop. They'd email me, they'd call, they'd resubmit, they'd show up, they'd shake my hand, they'd shake the manager's hand, and they'd just keep showing up constantly. Because sometimes when we submit these applications to hire people, we may not be ready in this moment to hire people. Maybe it might take a couple of months. Get all the applications in first. See, most people aren't going to do any of this. They're going to submit the application and keep moving. That's laziness. You really want that job? Act like someone who's about to get hired. Show up. Now, obviously, if you're, applying for a remote job, you can't physically show up, but you can email. You can text. You can DM, right? There's no way they won't notice that. I've noticed that. So persistence is so important. I will ask people all the time when they're like, yeah, I've been looking for a job. Oh yeah? How many applications did you submit? 200? Okay, that's nothing. Okay? It sounds like a lot, but it's not. But even, let's say, in their particular niche, let's say that is a lot. My follow-up question is, how many times have you called the company? None? Well, no wonder. Because you have to put yourself in the position of the company hiring these people. They don't know you. All they see is a name on a resume and maybe a photo. So if I'm looking at 200 names, how do I know who to give my attention to? It's the person who starts to stand out, right? So that's why I say persistence. Okay? And here's the other thing. This is more of a mindset attitude, by the way, which is number 3. You want a job, but you don't necessarily need this particular job, meaning don't be desperate, okay? Because when you're desperate, you end up working for the wrong company every time. Don't be desperate. And it goes both ways. The employer shouldn't be desperate either. Being desperate leads to poor choices in business every single time. So yes, you're looking for a job. Yes, you would be grateful if the Lord could bless you with the job, which he will. But you're not going to move and go out there like, my life's going to die tonight if I don't get this job. You're way too desperate. Okay? You got to have that faith and that confidence that, listen, the right job for me will come. I just need to keep showing up. That type of person always gets the job that's best for them. The other person who's moving erratically and chaotic and is desperate, they never get the job they're really looking for. It just doesn't work. It's bad energy. All right. Hopefully those tips were important to you guys or valuable. Again, I like to throw in some solutions for people here on this show if you guys don't mind that. Now, before we get to what the vice president said, I want you guys to also hear this message from our other sponsor, Tax Network USA. All right. Now, here's a very serious question. Do you owe money when it comes to back taxes? Are your tax returns still unfiled? Did you forget to file for the extension? The October 15 deadline is fast approaching. And if you haven't done anything, the IRS could target you. What does that look like exactly? Well, they could garnish your wages, freeze your bank account, even seize your property. But help is available if you reach out to Tax Network USA, which is a nationwide firm responsible, by the way, for saving over $1 billion in tax debt for everyday Americans. They filed hundreds of thousands of tax returns, reducing people's tax burden, and they probably could help you too. And that's why I say don't wait. Go to tnusa.com/Devori or call 1-800-958-1000. Speak to a consultant. It's 100% free, by the way. This could save you thousands of dollars, especially if you feel like you may or maybe you don't have a tax burden. But speak to the experts. Again, that is tnusa.com/Devori or call 1-800-958-1000. All right. Okay, here's what the vice president had to say this morning as a reaction to the jobs report. I kept saying 115,000. It's actually 119,000.
So, Mr. Vice President, the big news this morning is new jobs numbers blew away expectations.
Huge.
From the September numbers, so these were delayed because of the government shutdown, more than double, 119,000 new jobs. And then also there's some interesting stuff in the wages numbers there as well that shows wages on the rise. Your thoughts on the jobs numbers?
Okay, so a huge jobs report, and I assume the market is going crazy right now, probably just opened, because what this shows is that the Trump economic policies are actually working. And you've got 119,000 new jobs. Economists thought that we would have about 50,000 new jobs, but that's actually just the headline number. If you look below the surface, I think the numbers are actually better. So number one, wages continue to way outpace inflation. If you go back to the 3 years of the Biden administration, the average American worker actually lost about $3,000 of take-home pay. In the first 10 months of the Trump economy, we've increased take-home pay by about $1,200, adjusting for inflation. So that's a huge, huge thing, and this jobs report confirms that.
Okay. So it's the same message. The administration believes that they are outpacing inflation when it comes to increasing wages. I guess the question for people out there, do you believe that? Do you believe your wages have gone up? Now, the administration's in a tough spot. If it was me, I'd just tell people what the truth is. Listen, for 4 years, Biden and his administration, really the government, addicted to spending so they can execute the biggest wealth transfer in history, it has left this country in a terrible position, particularly Main Street and working class Americans. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, we're not going to fix that right now. It just isn't going to happen. It's going to take some time. It's going to take a couple of years. You know, I think that should be the leading message. You guys have a right to be mad. You have a right to be upset. It sucks out there for you. We see you. Not, hey, we're doing this and we've accomplished this. No one wants to hear that because people don't want to hear something they're not experiencing, if that makes sense, especially when you're talking about money. It's just the way the mind works, okay? According to this, it says average hourly earnings for all private employees stood at $36.67 in September 2025, reflecting a 3.8 year-over-year increase, outpacing the 3.0 inflation rate for the same period. So the vice president was correct. Okay. But the problem is, again, you could say what's on paper, or you could just tell people what they would really love to hear, which is like, hey, you guys got screwed. We know you got screwed, and here's what we're doing to fix it. Okay. I think that has to be the message, because if not, we're going to continue to see polls like this one.
But the issue of affordability, the issue of how people feel about the economy popping up in our latest polls, personal financial situation now, excellent, good, 40%, only fair or poor, 60%. You can see that changing from July. Condition of the U.S. economy, also a perception totally upside down, 76 to 25, and that changing a bit. And then economic conditions for the nation and you personally, again, 25% positive, 76 negative for the nation, and then 60-40 personally. So, yeah,
that's. Let's go back to that. Can I pull this up? Let's see.
But the issue of affordability, the issue of how you personally.
There we go. So, the nation finds economic conditions 76% is negative. That's yeah. So it's interesting because foreign policy, the president has He has a record high approval rating compared to Biden, Obama, and Bush, and even his first Trump administration. But the economy is where it's not looking good. And it's to be expected, okay? It's to be expected because at the end of the day, you're not going to fix what happened in 4 years in 10 months. It just isn't going to happen. That's what people have to understand. And the good news is the vice president understands that. That's why he said this.
And even though we've made incredible progress, we understand that there's a lot more work to do. And the thing that I'd ask for the American people is a little bit of patience. This economy was not harmed in 10 months. It took a deliberate 4-year administration that was making life harder for everyday Americans, that was importing foreign workers instead of giving jobs to American workers, that was overregulating, overtaxing, overspending. They were doing everything wrong. And as much progress as we've made, it's going to take a little bit of time for every American to feel that economic boom, which we really do believe is coming. We believe that we're on the front end of it, but we also recognize that we've got a lot of work to do to undo the damage that Joe Biden did to the American economy. And the last one I'll say, Matt, is let's be honest, it's not just Joe Biden. As much as I think Joe Biden was one of the most disastrous presidents of American history, we had a policy in this country for 40 years of shipping American jobs overseas and hiring foreign workers instead of American workers. That has caused the economic stagnation of the American middle class. There was one bright spot in 40 years, and that was the first Trump administration, and there is going to be a massive exception to that 40-year trajectory of American decline, and that's the second Trump administration. We just got to keep it going.
Yeah, the problem for the vice president and the president and the Trump administration is that they don't have the time. He's only going to serve for 4 years. So what he may be trying to achieve is going to take probably at least 8. You know, these changes in the economy, they just don't happen like that. So I hope they're able to make a true dent, which is to increase wages, to increase job creation, right? To make it easier to build homes in America, to get corporations out of the way as far as what they are doing. Listen, I talked about it yesterday. Some of you guys got mad. It's the reality. These corporations would rather offshore jobs, outsource jobs, hire foreign workers. Why? Because it's cheaper, okay? It's easier for them to do that. That's what they've been doing. I told you guys yesterday, the semiconductor technicians, okay? The employment of these people who are American born down 40% since the year of 2001. Why? Well, it's because these corporations, they care about the bottom line. So if I was the president, I was in his administration and they cared to hear my opinion, which I know they don't, I would immediately be coming out right now and establishing a nationwide program when it comes to the recruitment, the training, and the production centered on American workers. We need to get American students out of the universities in half the time. We need to be encouraging younger adults to go into the trades, to go into specialized jobs, okay? None of this studying gender studies and all this other nonsense, okay? Get into a skill that's going to make you money and be a huge solution to the economy. It goes back to solving problems, right? Manufacturing chips, that's a big problem, okay? Manufacturing rockets and missiles and ammunition and things of that nature. It goes back to STEM, okay? Science, engineering, technology, math, right? There needs to be a nationwide program on this, a full court press. I don't understand why the president hasn't gone in on. Maybe someone's telling him it's not needed. I'm of the opinion that he should be doing it. He's already talking about everything else. He can make time to say, hey, this is what we're doing for Gen Z. This is what we're doing for the American worker. And this is the name of the program. He's great with the names, the marketing. He could sell it. There's no issue. He do that. I just don't see why things won't improve for the president from a political strategist standpoint, especially for the GOP, if they get on board, start talking this way. Because if they don't, and Democrats get out of their Trump derangement obsession, and they start mimicking Zoran Mondani and Katie Wilson, they're going to dominate the midterms because they're speaking the language of the voter. That's why we continue to talk about this, because that is the risk that they're continuing to take. I mean, I put it up on X every day. Everybody wants to talk about Epstein. Everybody wants to talk about Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson and all this other stuff. No one gives a damn about that People care about their jobs, their wages, their electricity bill, their grocery prices, the education for their children, the safety in their communities. That's what they care about. All of that is just online nonsense. It's all a distraction at the end of the day. So hopefully they start sounding like JD Vance there. I think that's the first time anyone in the administration has said, hey, we get your pain. We know you're struggling. And let's just be real. What happened in 4 years can't be fixed in 10 months. That has to be the automatic response every single time. And then here's what we're doing about it. Step 1, step 2, step 3. And if you speak that way, I don't see why Gen Z is not going to be like, oh, well, at least they have a plan. At least they're finally talking about it. At least they're finally addressing it. Because I'm telling you guys, if the Republicans do not get Gen Z on board, they're going to lose elections. It's just automatic. Okay? Without Gen Z last year, the president would have lost that election. And we know who was behind all that, Charlie Kirk. And he's no longer with us. So what now? So it's on everybody. Okay? We don't need another Charlie Kirk. We just need people to get out of the drama, okay? The, Hollywood reality nonsense and get back to business. That's what we need. Okay? That's what constituents are demanding from the representatives. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. People need to understand recessions are normal. We have had a normal recession in nearly, I think he said we haven't had a normal recession in nearly 15 years. This is a massive correction. Listen, Nancy, I believe we need to have a major recession. I believe the president on day one should have triggered a recession, forced it, figured it out, caused the Fed to increase rates, people lose their jobs, cut government spending. I mean, I would have been like cutthroat on that because without the recession, we're stuck with the record inflation that incurred under the Biden administration. You're not going back. Okay, prices are not going to come down. What will happen is prices will stabilize, okay? They will slowly increase instead of rapidly increasing. Well, since they rapidly increased and now they're slowly increasing, because remember, inflation happens every year and the Fed wants it to be around 2%, people are ultra sensitive right now. Well, how do you fix that ultra sensitivity? You should have forced a recession on day one. Because usually they only go on for like a year, maybe 2. And it would have been uphill from there. That's a perfect world. I understand why he wouldn't do that. I understand why Congress wouldn't go for it. Because it's literally political suicide. So the other alternative is they need to figure out how to raise wages much higher, create more jobs. It's the only other alternative at this point. And find ways to, the president keeps calling for the Fed to lower rates. In fact, what he should be doing is calling for the Fed to increase rates because it stops the American voter from continuing to spend money they don't have, which contributes to inflation. People have to stop spending money. That's what I said. Step 2, it goes back to financial literacy. Let's keep going. Yeah, because we don't get a recession, we get stagflation. Exactly. And so, yeah, I see your comment. Yeah, the pushback is, well, we're going to bring these people overseas to train the American worker temporarily, and then they'll go back. Listen, I'm not an idiot, and neither are you. Do you honestly believe that's going to happen? We're talking about private companies. You think a private company is going to hire somebody, half of what it's going to cost for them to hire an American worker just for them to come over here temporarily and train an American worker? Are you kidding me? That statement is literally them gaslighting us. That's not going to happen. It's not going to be temporary. I'm sorry. Scott Besson is wrong on that. Okay? We've seen it time and time again. And they can't force these companies to do that anyway. That's why I said the president should just come out and go all in. It's interesting how quickly, and this is a legitimate criticism, by the way, okay? It's fascinating how quick the administration went to strangling these universities regarding anti-Semitism. But they're not strangling these universities as far as their student loan scams and their inability to make sure that these students are in a position to get hired. It's interesting that they wanted to strangle these corporations regarding DEI, but they don't want to strangle them when it comes to recruiting American workers. So if we're gonna do it, let's go all the way. If you're gonna go after these universities, let's go all the way. Even if they go out of business, go all the way. Don't go halfway. Do it for the American worker. Do it for the young adult out there. It's what they failed when it came to millennials. Don't make the same mistake. Right? Again, if we don't demand this stuff, guys, I'm telling you that this future generation will burn it down and they will turn radical. That's why I'm so hell-bent on this. All right, let's go. This guy didn't spend a dime on college. Actually, I did, for the record. Yep. I appreciate your super chat. Gen X got Trump elected, and one thing I love about us is we don't give a F. We call it like we see it, sometimes to our own detriment. Yeah. You see, when I start telling the objective truth, I notice my videos either go down in views, and I notice that people start downvoting my video because they don't like me speaking this way. Meaning these are people who just want to be told what they want to hear, and they want echo chamber talking points. That's not what this show is. What is the subtitle of the show? Common sense commentary, okay? Common sense implies you're going to tell the objective truth. Okay, let's keep going here. Let's go to Rumble. What about, this is a good question. What about the 100,000 per HB1, or I think it's H1B visa year change? I would probably say that is 25% going in the right direction. So this is my personal opinion at this point. This may not be objective truth, but this is my personal opinion, okay? I've always been the guy that's like all in. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to immerse myself. I'm going to see it through to the end. I'm going to leave no stone unturned. So if you're going to raise H-1B visa applications to $100,000 a fee per year, just go all the way. Force these companies to do the right thing by the American worker. And you know what's fascinating is these people applying for these positions, the total number of these applications, it's not really a lot. I think they only represent 6% of the overall workforce. But it becomes a problem when you niche down into certain industries. It really becomes a problem. Okay, so you know, I don't think what we're asking for here is a lot. I don't think so. Devori, if you force manufacturing back to the United States of America and do not relax labor law, product costs will skyrocket. I'm not trying to force manufacturing back to the United States. What I am saying is corporations who have manufacturing already here in the United States of America should have an established program to recruit American workers straight out of college. College should also develop an accelerated program so they're not wasting a young adult's time in college with nonsensical curriculum. Get them in there, get them trained, don't waste their time, make sure that these companies understand that these people are only receiving 1 to 2 years training max. Like it should be a university and a corporation collaborating together. That's the way it should be. That's not happening right now. Let's see here. Let's keep going. Let's see here. And we need to relax labor laws that harms businesses, especially small business. Trust me, I know I'm a small business owner. Why don't you be a little bit more specific? Because I've been a business owner. I've hired people left and right. I had a roofing company, solar company, a restaurant. What exactly are you talking about? What labor law in particular? I'm not following. I think the biggest annoyance when it comes to hiring people is the taxes that are involved. Let's see here. And the insurance. See, it's right here. It is hard to hire young adults that never get any training in high school for the trades. Exactly. I for the life of me, I don't understand why we're wasting their time. Like, even in high school, they don't need 4 years. 2 years of general stuff. The next 2 years has got to be specialized. Either you're going to be in sports because you're that talented, you're going to be in engineering, you're going to be in math, you're going to be in science, technology, history, medical, right? They can already identify these talents within young adults. We don't have it set up that way, but it can be done. I'll tell you what, even if you disagree with me, you got to admit it's better than what we've been doing. I have to push back on that. Americans do care about whether or not it's made in the United States of America. There is plenty of studies and polls that have proved that. If Americans had a choice to pay for something that is made in America over something made in China, and they were presented with the option, they're going with the American-made item because they already know inherently China is cheap. Yeah, here's a good one. Why do I need to study water basket weaving in order to be a systems control engineer? I have no idea. Here's another one. I didn't learn anything new in high school that I didn't already know in middle school, public school. High school needs these skill classes too. Yeah. So I think, again, if you have somebody that you know is out there and they're having a tough time with the economy, send them yesterday's live show, okay? The last 20 minutes. I'll have to ask my team to clip it and probably re-upload it or something because it's just too good, all right? We live in an economy today because it's skills driven. That's it. That's all you need. If you have the skills and you can at least talk to people, without being, crazy awkward, you'll be fine. You'll make enough money, okay? Because we live in a world where being average just isn't good enough. And at the same time, there's plenty of people who are mediocre at what they do. So it's easy to stand out, is my point, if you just master your skills. That's why I said mindset has to be step one. You got to have the mindset that you want to be the best at whatever you do, not average. That the opportunities are out there. There's an abundance out there. The Lord has already blessed you with everything you need. You just got to go out there and do your part. And you're not going to make any excuses. That's got to be the mindset at the end of the day. And then step two, you got to understand financial literacy. Cut out the fluff. Stop spending your money on stuff you don't need, especially if you're looking for a real change right now. A lot of people, they don't want to downsize. They don't want to move. They don't want to sell their car. They don't want to sell their house. They think it's an embarrassment if they have to do any of that. No, the embarrassment is you continuing to do things that get you the results you don't want. As I said, financial literacy is so important. And then step three is these skills that we're talking about, going out there and solving a problem. All right, the minimum wage law, ADA, EQOP, things exploited by lazy people that would rather sue than work, too much liability for business. Listen, all those things may be true, but your mindset is too negative for you to be a business owner, in my opinion. I'm not looking at the liability. I'm looking at how can I help people. When people work for me, that is a privilege. I am doing something for their livelihood. I am impacting families. That's why we've been put on this planet, to serve each other. So there's certain things you can't do anything about. You can't control what the federal government or the state government wants to do with minimum wage and all this other stuff. But what you can do is adapt. What you can do is focus. What you can do is focus on helping people. That's much more better and much more effective use of your time than sitting there and figuring out everything wrong with business. Let's see. College degree should not be the new high school. Should not be the new high school degree. I agree. The culture in the schools need to change. They look down on the techies like they're dropouts. Yeah, I know. I agree. Yeah. Listen, I just told you what the study says. The study says most Americans would rather buy American products, even during holidays. Look, we'll just do it together. Why don't we search it together? Okay? Why don't we do that? Okay. Study. Americans buy American made products over China during holiday season. I only know because we talked about this yesterday. What do you guys see there on the screen? Let's just zoom in. A strong majority of Americans prefer to buy made in America products during the holidays, with a recent survey finding 77% prefer buying gifts made in the United States. However, budget constraints are a major factor, obviously, and many shoppers may prioritize deals over origin, especially with the rising cost of imported goods due to tariffs. All right. So there you go. Yeah, let's see here. Let's go back on YouTube, and then we're going to wrap up here. Yeah. If I'm sitting in front of a million Gen Z Americans, I'm repeating the same stuff I've been saying now. It doesn't even have to be traits. The key word is skills. Even being a problem solver is a skill, right? So let's see. Glad to hear you saying this, Devori. The government should take care of you, and even if you try to get a job or work is irrelevant. Amazon is hiring $3,000 sign-on bonus, $23 an hour warehouse, very simple work for $46,000 a year. Yeah. See, this is why there's got to be, and we might do this. I've told my wife this plenty of times that I want to create something that is going to help, no matter what your age is, a person understand the new economy, how to make money in this new economy. Because the way we used to do it, that isn't going to work today. It is a skills-driven economy. So the name of the game is, what skills do you have that can solve a valuable problem for people? Now, usually trades, that's a given, because those skills solve valuable problems. If my plumbing goes out in my house, it's an emergency. If my electricity goes out in my house, it's an emergency. If the water stops, it's an emergency. If the AC goes out and it's 100 degrees outside, it's an emergency. If I have a hole in my roof and things are leaking, it's an emergency. Right? So these trades, it's an emergency. And it's not even always customer facing. Welding is an emergency too. There are trades that are solving problems for trades, if you think about it. So that's already implied. And then let's not forget lawyer, engineer, doctor, right? I mean, these are things that always have a shortage. There's not enough. See, here it is. Jim Alexander put it, he nailed it right on the head. I've been a plumber since high school, working 12-hour days, 6 days a week, investing 10% in stocks since 1980, self-made millionaire and still working. Kids, that's how you do it. And you know what's funny, Jim? Is if the kids only, even if they did half of what you said, they would be wildly successful. You only have to do half. You don't even have to go that hard. It's crazy. Let's see here. So tariffs do raise prices. They can if there is a retaliation, especially if the business is heavily dependent on products coming from outside this country. It's possible. But I mean, tariff is not the issue today, folks. It's that we experience a record level of inflation and there's no going back, and wages have not adjusted to that yet. Yes, I just read it to you earlier that wages at what, 0.7% difference, okay? But that still is not everybody or most of everybody, particularly in the working class, feeling like there's a difference, okay? Everybody, I won't say everybody. The working class in particular and low-income individuals believe and they feel that the money they make is significantly behind inflation. There's no way to argue with these people, and I would never try to. That's why I'd rather focus on giving people solutions. My brother became an electrician because of high school training. Then after his high school, he got a great paying job. Yep. I worked for 15 years in a chip, a chip manufacturing. Some of the best technicians there were ex-Navy techs who worked on naval systems aboard ships. We could use naval schools and techniques to train people to work. I'll leave you guys with this main point. I'm glad you brought that up. I am so firm on this position because I've lived it. In the military, the average training is about 60 days. And we're talking about kids who are joining, who are 19 years old. They're literally managing missiles, bombs, ammunition, aircraft. Okay, they work on aircraft. You mean to tell me that we can't train people in a short amount of time, like within a year or two? Of course we can. Of course we can. It happens in the military. And we got some people who don't even know their last name in the military being proficient in a lot of these jobs. So I don't want to hear it. I really do believe we could. Listen, it always starts at whether the president said it himself. He said, we can't. So we're already cooked. He used the word can't. You know, and I disagree. We can. We absolutely can. All right. I want to thank you guys for spending time with me today. And we continue to see the corruption. We know that the economy is not working for people right now, but hold your faith. Because the one big beautiful bill goes into effect next year. Tax season is going to come around. People are going to see that money, and it might just make a difference. So that's why I said judgment time is until April. But I'm glad to see at least the vice president is starting to focus on the right message, because Republicans got to start doing it too. They have to start talking that way. The last thing we need, if we don't want progressives in charge, is to allow them to own the narrative. So it's clear the administration lost the Epstein battle. They allowed the Democrats to own the narrative regarding that. They can't allow Democrats to own the economy narrative. That would be a fatal mistake. We already see flashes of where they lost out on that. New York City, Seattle, which are both blue areas, by the way. No question about it. But look who voted for these people. Females and young adults. Young adults, which means Gen Z, and women. If women show out to vote in numbers we've never seen before, you can kiss the GOP goodbye. Okay? And if Gen Z won't show up, yeah, we're really screwed. So share the message, share the show. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, especially on YouTube. Sometimes they make you believe you're subscribed, but then you have to go back and verify it. Best way you can support the show is by, again, sharing it with your friends, your family, your colleagues. We like to show you guys both sides of the story here on this show. But ultimately, I just want to say how grateful I am for your attention today. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Take care, everyone.